Hey, Jeff Adult Child, this is Healing Shame, and today's June 10th, so I'm going to pop the reading on your screen. I was noticing, I was looking through the views on what people watch on YouTube. It's just very interesting to see how much stuff people are watching about, like borderline interview with a borderline woman, man realizes he's going to prison for life. These things are getting millions of views. And maybe it's a combination of the channel owner is paying YouTube or whatever it is, or it's just a fact that people love to watch stuff that doesn't make them feel as bad, or they like to watch toxic things. Maybe that's part of the addiction of our society, of our global world as well, as watching this kind of stuff. So I know in America it is. People binge on all kinds of things, just part of the addiction, part of the dysfunctional culture that we live in. Part of boredom, people's lives are just kind of go to work, come home, eat your cheeseburger, and go to bed. Watch, come home, do all that stuff, binge on Netflix and YouTube, and boom, go to bed, get up, and go through the same routine again. So it's just something I was noticing. But here is the reading coming up. June 10th, from the text, Strengthening My Recovery. Other laundry list. Our experience shows that the opposites of the laundry list are just as damaging as the counterpart. Big Red Book, page 8. Realizing the damaging effects of the other laundry list gives many of us our early sense of frustration with the ACA program. Once the elation of finally finding a group of people who get that we were affected by our childhoods eventually fades, we start the slow process of admitting that we may have unconsciously done the very same things to those around us that were done to us. This is a hard reality to accept, but it is the necessary groundbreaking that allows our spiritual foundation to be poured on honest footing. With time, we realized we were in denial about our actions. The behaviors that served as a protective way of getting through our traumatic childhoods did not serve us well as adults. We had become used to beating ourselves up and acting out. ACA suggests that we reparent ourselves and break the harmful cycle we found ourselves in. With the support of our meetings and fellow traveler, the work we do helps us feel embraced by our inner loving parent and our higher power. We can now allow the process of coming out of denial and into spiritual consciousness to slowly and gently unfold as we recover buried feelings and memories that drove our true self into hiding. On this day, I admit that not only was I affected by the dysfunction, but that I also affected those around me. And I will practice being gentle and loving of my true self as I continue to awaken spiritually. And that is copyright 2013 by Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, World Service Organization. Other laundry list. The first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what is that? What are these traits? Well, from the back of the Big Red Book, the original version, not my little green version because I actually forgot to put them in there. So I'm using the Big Red Book. And in the back here, we have actually 14 other laundry list traits. And those include things like to cover our fear of people and our dread of isolation, we became the authority figures. So we became them and we cause others to withdraw. To avoid becoming enmeshed or entangled, we become rigidly self sufficient, for example. We frighten people with our anger and belittling criticism. This laundry list is where we become the victimizer, we become the perpetrator. And I can definitely see that in my life. I can vacillate, I can oscillate between the laundry list where I'm in some sense a victim and then I'm the perpetrator or the victimizer in the other laundry list. It says here, like number 5, for example, we live life from the standpoint of a victimizer and are attracted to people we can manipulate and control in our important relationships. Yeah. So these things like this, um, we want to wind up getting into a relationship where we can control others, and we there's this addiction to control. You can read that right here in the Big Red Book in chapter 2, I believe, where it says, it won't happen to me." But what we find ourselves becoming are things like, um, little angry people, where we exact our anger, exact revenge on society. We blow up at the cashier, or on the telephone. We blow up at the customer service representative who's taking some kind of call and handling our personal affairs. We blow up at them. They're easy people to target. Or we might get in a relationship where we're controlling someone. I saw this with my mother constantly, for example, controlling my stepfather. She told him what to wear, she told him what to do. She said jump, he said how high. It was a constant battle, constant struggle. My grandmother did that to my grandfather. So sometimes we enter into these roles unconsciously and it just naturally happens. And if there's somebody who's on this perpetrator end of the other laundry list and they're operating on these features, then they might not know that's what's happening. They might be trying to control somebody else. Or sometimes I'll get into situations like this. So we have to be really careful that we don't wind up as a victim or a perpetrator, because neither of these is living in recovery. If we're operating on either of these, the laundry list or the other line, the OLL or the LL. We also have things like we're irresponsible and self centered. Some of this looks like narcissism. Our inflated sense of worth and self importance prevents us from seeing our deficiencies and shortcomings. We make others feel guilty when they attempt to assert themselves. So somebody tries to talk and share their reality and they get shut down or it gets flipped and turned around on them. That's a way that we can do that trait number 7. Um, we inhibit our fear by staying deadened and numb. Constant dissociation, whether it's with substances or control, addiction to control, addiction to fear, excitement, worry, self hate, any of the inner drugstore, any of the inner drugs. Or it could be exogenous substances like alcohol, tobacco, caffeine. Now, there are so many different ways we can stay deadened and numb. And then there are many others here. We refuse to admit we've been affected by family dysfunction or that there was dysfunction in the home or that we have internalized any of the family's destructive attitudes and behaviors. 14 different OLL, other laundry list traits in there. I have operated on these myself. I do swing. I can swing between the laundry list where I'm a little bit more of a victim and the other laundry list where I'm a little bit more of a perpetrator or a victimizer. And it's in being aware that I do have the tendency to be both victim or victimizer, the angel and the beast, the saint and the sinner. I have the tendency to be both. And that's a great deal of awareness. And once I have the awareness, then we can go forward with gentleness, humor, patience, tolerance, kindness with myself, and start trying to be a little bit kinder to the other people in the world, because that's where all of this comes. That's really practicing the program in all my affairs, like our other reading was about, is trying to be kind and loving to other people around me and show them that, hey, look, I'm in recovery. This stuff works, so you can use it too. But yeah, it can be a little bit of a tricky situation, but one day at a time, we can practice not being in either of these survival modes, whether it's the LL or the OLL. And we have tools to allow us to get out of those, like integration. We pray for integration of the survival traits. We call others. We say, hey, look, I've acted out today. I've acted out on my anger. I've acted out on my selfishness. I've acted out on my whatever it might be, denial that I have, that my family affected me, and I have that any dysfunctional traits that I picked up from them, or that I've been affected by it at all. We can come out of denial and we can embrace our true selves and love the true self back to normal, and let that come out of hiding. So there are ways that we can do this. It's been good to be here with you today. Until next time, all the best.